Afternoon, everyone. My name is Carrie Lindsay, managing broker with Bricks Realty. I am excited to be your host today as we talk about the October monthly housing market report. I am excited to share with you three topics today that I think that you want to be aware of as far as what's going on in this crazy housing market that we're in right now. We're going to be talking about what is happening in the current market. Are interest rates going to continue to rise? Where home prices are headed? And then we're going to wrap up with some benefits of home equity and then also some non-financial benefits of home ownership. So we ended September with interest rates at 6.7%. Now, comparing that to August 11th, as you can see on this graph, it's really when the interest rates really started increasing. We were at 5.13 on August 11th, ended September at 6.7, and then as of yesterday, which would have been 10/27, interest rates across the U.S. for Fannie and Freddie went up to 7.08%. So we broke the 7% mark. We haven't done that in over 20 years. I believe the last time that happened was in 2002. So again, mortgage rates are trending upward and they look to be staying in that direction at least probably for the remainder of the year. As we've talked about before, the reason that this is happening is because the Fed is tightening monetary supply and they are trying to curtail demand in order to fight and tame inflation. They want to slow our economy down so that prices can level out, so that we're not experiencing the high inflation and the high prices that we are experiencing right now. From everything that I have read and everything that I've heard, what they've done to date, I think has made maybe a slight indent in the inflation, but overall, it's not had much of an effect at all. People are still spending money. The consumer price index is still increasing. And so that's, I think, the problem or the challenge for the Fed is, how much do they have to increase these rates for people to actually stop spending, which will actually slow the economy down. And no one really knows the answer to that. So again, we're just going to kind of have to ride this train and see where it takes us. Home sales, both new and existing, have fallen because of this. Because as the rates have gotten higher, buyers have either been knocked out of the market because they can't afford to purchase, or they've simply chose to sit on the sidelines and kind of see what's going to happen. So without the strong buyer demand that we've had in the past that pushed prices up, we now have a leveling. And home sellers that really need to sell their home are listing at more marketable prices. I guess they're not being so as aggressive because they really do want to sell their home for whatever reason, whether they're looking to buy or whether it's an investment property or whether they already have another home, but they want their property to sell. And so again, they're not advertising and listing their properties at prices that are aggressive like they were, let's say, in the summertime. Builders have also cut production because they pay attention to buyer demand. And so they don't want to be building a bunch of homes that nobody is going to buy. So I would say right now our market is slowing down. I mean, we definitely still have buyers out there. I personally have buyers. A lot of agents in my office still have buyers. So there are still buyers out there. But the ones that were tire kickers that were thinking about maybe they wanted to do it, or even some buyers that really did want to do it, they've been pushed out of the market because the rates are so high. So going forward, here's a quote from George Ratu, who's a senior economist from Realtor.com. And what he says is, while even 2 months ago, rates above 7% may have seemed unthinkable, at the current pace, we can expect rates to surpass that level in the next 3 months. This would have been at the end of September. So we are 10 days, no, 3 days away from the end of October. And again, like I said, yesterday rates did go above 7%. So he was absolutely right in his prediction. The market has slowed down the pace of sales. So there are more homes on the market right now. There are more options out there for buyers, and buyers are having more bargaining power. Sellers are now, offering concessions, closing costs. They're offering to give money to buy down buyers' rates, either permanently or in a 2-to-1 buy down ratio for buyers. So buyers are seeing some benefits that hopefully will help ease the pain on the higher interest rate that they have to pay. So definitely, if you're thinking about buying and you haven't reached out to a lender yet, please holler at me and let me know, because I can definitely put you in touch with some of my trusted lenders, and they can go over, some different scenarios with you as to what might be best in your financial situation. So where are prices going? We've kind of talked about rates. We've kind of talked about the overall market and how it is softening a little bit and leveling out. The root issue of what drives house prices or any product's price is supply and demand. And so, like I just mentioned, because demand is a little softer right now, the home prices are not going to be as exorbitant as they have been in the past. So Mark Fleming, who is a chief economist with First American, said that annual house price declines are not expected given the ongoing supply and demand imbalance and the continued strength in the labor market. So what that means is he doesn't necessarily expect home prices to decrease like they did dramatically in 2008, but people are being much more conservative about when they list their home for sale. At the very beginning, they're not listing at the very top of their market. They're listing more right around market value. And we're not seeing the multiple offers that we've had over the last couple years either, which is also keeping those home prices more normal and more stabilized. So that's really what I would have to say about that. And if you look at the graphs, I mean, you'll see that, most of the forecasters are forecasting that the homes are still going to appreciate over the next few years. And only one economist has said that she doesn't believe that home prices are going to appreciate. So overall, most of the economists are still saying home values are still going to appreciate over the next few years. And again, that just speaks to the supply and demand and just overall the health of the housing market outside of interest rates. So the next thing that I want to talk about is, so where we've been, during the pandemic, we had very, very low interest rates, we had very low inventory, and we had extremely high demands that caused bidding wars and exorbitant home prices. And where we are right now is the inverse of that. So our listings are up nationwide over 27%. Rates are much higher, and showings are down about 12%. So the sale of new and existing homes are in decline. And so again, all of that is going to equivalent to more steady listing prices for homes. You're not going to see dramatic decreases. At least I don't believe so. I think you're going to see just a more stabilizing of our market and homes being sold more along market value. So if we move in and we talk about home equity is if you buy your house for $100,000 and you keep it for 5 years and your home is now worth $125,000, the equity that you have in your home is that $25,000 difference. And so if you look at this particular slide here, what you're going to see is for quarter two specifically, this is for quarter 2022, nationwide across the country, there was a $60,000 year over year gain across the country in home equity. That's huge. Florida had over $100,000. And so that's just in a year's time. Average across, across the country, or average here in Florida, that is the home equity that people gained on some of their property that they had. So that's a real benefit of home ownership over renting, right? Is that when you purchase a home, you actually are benefiting from that. So here it talks about, again, the average equity gain across the U.S. was $60,000 from last year. That's a 27.8% increase year over year. And then total, homeowners made $3.6 trillion from second quarter this year from second quarter last year. So the total average equity per borrower is almost $300,000. That's huge. And then again, this sort of relates to home equity, but what this graph shows is, so this is a graph that goes back to 1991. So in other words, a 30-year period, right? Most people, when they take out a mortgage, they take out a 30-year loan. So if we went back to 1991 and then we fast forwarded to 2022, what was the average of the equity, the percent change in home prices during that 30-year period? And so on average, across the entire country, there was a 290% increase in home prices over the last 30 years. So that is something that is even hard to wrap your head around, right? Here in Florida, that increase was 422%. So just to give you an idea, I'm going to kind of go off on a tangent here for just a second. And so let's say you bought a $200,000 house, okay? And then if you live here in Florida, and we're going to take that times 422%. That means if you paid 30 years ago $200,000 for your house and you kept it, whether you kept it and lived in it or whether you kept it and rented it, if these numbers hold true based on national averages, your home today could be worth $844,000. That's mind-blowing to me. So that's home equity is a significant source of wealth for a homeowner. It's a significant form of growth for a homeowner. And so the question becomes, is if this has happened over the last 30 years, what are the chances that the next 30 years are going to be any different? History tends to repeat itself in more ways than one. And so what I would say is, even if you had half of that, that's still a really good investment, that you could keep something for 30 years and get a 300% return or 150% return. So now that we've kind of talked about home equity and home ownership, let's look at the flip side of that, and let's look at rental increases. So let's say you decided, I don't want to buy a home. I really want to rent. Look at this is almost the same 30 years. So this goes back to 1988 to present. Look at that exponential growth. That's mind-blowing as well. So you can either put your money into home ownership and build that wealth exponentially for yourself, or you can put that money into a rental that you're renting and make somebody else wealthy and get zero return. To me, again, there are benefits for people to rent for a certain amount of time. But if you're really looking for financial freedom or financial benefit or financial gain, it's definitely not going to be in the renting realm, right? It's going to be in home ownership. And so I want to wrap up today with, we've talked about the financial benefits, but there's also some non-financial benefits. When you purchase a home, you have safety and security, right? You get to do whatever you want to your house. You have the stability of knowing that if you've signed onto a fixed rate mortgage, that your mortgage isn't going to go up. So while we've had all of these inflation increases, people that are renting, their rates are getting raised every single year, but your home mortgage payment stays the same. So there's a lot of safety and security in that. You have privacy. You don't have to share a wall with somebody. You don't have to share, common elements as far as your backyard. I mean, you have your own backyard. So there's a lot of privacy when you buy, your own home. You get to do home improvements. A lot of times when you rent, you can't even change the paint color on the walls. So there's a lot of personalization. You can make that place your own place. There's been proven health benefits for people that own their own home, because it's a sense of satisfaction. It's a sense of accomplishment. It makes people feel good. There's obviously financial benefits, and then, civic participation. A lot of times when people buy homes, they get involved in their local HOA. Sometimes they get involved in the community because they're concerned about, maybe zoning in their area. So there's a lot of benefits that comes with home ownership that we really don't think about a lot, but that really help us grow as individuals. So again, I hope that this was beneficial to everybody. And I just want to end with a quick thank you for joining me today. And if I can help answer any questions that you might have about any of these slides or any other questions you might have about the real estate market, please feel free to reach out. My contact information is on this last slide. And I just wish you all a fantastic day. Thank you so much. Have a great day.